Good of you viewers with listeners, hello everyone. Here is a surprise universe. I am a teacher Fu Helling. And this area will talk to us greetings. Hello everyone. Today I want to say there are two themes. The first is on January 30th this year. The United States has a very important space telescope. Spitzer, called the Spitzer Space Telescope, retired. From December 2003. This year's number to January 30th, 2020. Complete accomplished a mission. Originally only planned 2.5-year mission. Even now extended to 16.5 years. And let them go. It also continues to extend up. Gentlemen audience with the audience you know. The above is only 425 watts of power. Very little power. Hubble is in heaven is 5,500 watts. So this with very little power. But it has played a great function infrared telescope. Do a lot of things. Here to let you know. I want to say the second paragraph. Trump is the President of the United States. Number 4 February State of the Union inside. Special note of the first man to make a U.S. astronaut. And the first woman astronaut to return to the moon. So today talk about two key points. First terms. After 16.5 years of stargazing, Spitzer Space Telescope retired. Then this telescope. Long is like Spitzer. Space Center. Note that this background is red. It is expressed with an infrared to display the background of the universe. At the same time see some. We optical telescope. There is no way to see what the. At the same time it can pass through a lot of dust clouds. Directly penetrate into the inside. Why? Because we Hubble telescope too. With the Spitzer telescope to do more. Hubble telescope is optically. Spitzer telescope is an infrared telescope. So from this we can map the. We can see. This is a so-called light spectrum. Notes that there is a visible top. Dispersive prism, same thing down. That is the range of visible light. Left side range of visible light. The so-called infrared. On the right is called ultraviolet. Its wavelength infrared light. Longer than visible light. Its ultraviolet wavelengths are shorter than visible light. So long wavelength infrared. Visible light can penetrate our. We visible. Many of them do not see things after a relatively long wavelength infrared properties. It can be worn into it. So it can penetrate the dust. See a lot of things we cannot see. At the same time it is the use of infrared light. So it can be seen that non-spectral. We visible spectroscopy. Many of us cannot see them. Because our technology has been developed to. Infrared light with ultraviolet light. Then this is characteristic of the infrared light. Then we take a look. Spitzer telescope it in 2020. 129. Because it is infrared light. So I have a scarlet letter. It must be cooled. It is not too hot to cool down. Not too hot. It can be seen that a lot of things very low temperatures. So it must be away from the Earth. Survived far away as possible, because the Earth will heat nearby. The farther away from Earth as possible. Of course, far from the sun is the more the better. In this case, it will not be disturbed Earth. Of course, far enough from the sun, so the sun and Earth. All infrared interference. Be completely ruled out. So that it will be able to play it. Infrared feature to see things. Well, we can see this photo. At that time, when it has 3 sections. Here is the blue planet. So in the middle of the sun. It now track it. Around the sun is slowly revolution. Slowly revolving. But you can look at this map. It is now at 0.1 Australian dollars per year. A so-called AU is a distance between the sun and Earth. Slowly at this speed distance. Slowly away. Look out slowly. The first paragraph, it's so cold. There is a very cold room. In the case of cooling the rail. In this paragraph there, it can do a lot. See a lot of things very low temperature. Then again it is called warm period. Segment is slightly warmer temperature a little higher. And then behind it is to extend the period. As we all know, I speak in front. It turned out to be 2.5-year mission, has now become nearly 16 years. So it now. Slowly this track, slowly away from the sun. Finally, the so-called debris field will fall. This area is a lot of debris. Maybe small rock. Small pieces of ice, small particles. Slowly moved to the outside of the solar system. Well then hear it. I'll let you look at the first film. This is a NASA video. Spray the United States that pushed laboratory to do the movie. It is this which explains. This is a Spitzer space mission. So now we look at this video. 15 Spitzer. You can see the height of only 4 meters high. It has 2 scientists, a male scientist, a woman scientist. This is the task of scientist Spitzer. He said the launch, August 25, 2003. It had only planned 2.5 years of life. But it is beyond the engineering limited. It has far exceeded our imagination. Our plan cannot be planned. So it's working very well. Really well done, very well. Well, this is seen with visible light. M81 galaxy. Spitzer view that now is through. It galaxy seen a lot of tiny particles. This is the original invisible, because of its relatively long wavelength, can transmit visible light. This is its management plan project manager. He said he is now currently. He also saw 7 Earth-like planets. 7. It is because the processing of infrared rays, so it can be orderly. See 7 different Earth-like planets, called the TRAPPIST-1. That system does. Currently is one of the important discoveries. Currently ultra cold. Because it is very cold. The middle is a red dwarf star. Through this red dwarf star found him to 7 Earth-like planet in the habitable zone. But how about 39 light years beyond? So very far away. There is no other than it. Of course, there may be other, now being analyzed. Then this is it a shot. It is through this lens. You see, this is the effect of occultation. After this time it is through occultation of stars. This is it sees infrared. Milky Way around us. You can see the red particles. On behalf of many type dust-laden dust and spot. If the infrared, that ordinary visible light is not visible, it was 360 degrees cycle. It's the entire perimeter. It sees the universe colorful display. Then visible light to see very much more. Scientists say that this, because it has a good scientific equipment, plus it features the use of infrared. So it sees a lot of. Usually visible not see a thing. And it's tasked it. Basically, as viewed from the present. Considered maximize. Very good, very successful. It was November 2019. It will continue to operate. The film is shot by the end of 2019. So now you see. You see this is the infrared. Things like mist. It is a lot of dust particles. It can clearly be seen very clearly. Well, we now look at a picture. I just talked about it 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is to keep cool. Minus 450 degrees Fahrenheit operation temperature. Why is it cool? Because it has to be very cold. First, it is very dry. The second, very cold. It can be seen background information. Rather cold place. To look very far. To the second stage it. That is, we just look at the top. Warmer area. Phase 2. 2009-515. Number 2016 to October 1st. It is used to make helium coolant running out. So of course, there is no coolant. Then slowly it will increasingly warm, but because of its distance from Earth, farther away. So it is still not very high temperature, but to avoid heating up. So that it continues to helium, or you can use a small amount of, then slowly, to the top of the little red warm period, for 10 years. This task is a task twice as cold. During this time you can see inside. In this task the following cold spectrum. Saw a lot of strange things. I would say wait a few photos. Stage 3 is from 2016 October 1st to January 30th before the end of this year. This is the third paragraph of the task. This has the extra task, that which we called it. Why cornucopia of the universe? Because it can see the dust particles. Particles of interstellar. We know that dust stardust may produce planetary disk. This dust is very important. Is to gather the planetary disk. The so-called baby stars. So slowly from small to big. So-called cornucopia. Let everyone know how planets are formed. And you can see many galaxies in the middle of the backbone of the universe. We have 3 very important telescopes. Is a Hubble Space Telescope. This is a Spitzer telescope. Another is the X-ray telescope. X-ray is an X-ray. You can see the skeleton of galaxies. Wait a minute, we can see a picture. We now look at the first photo. This is seeing Nebula Spitzer. This is beyond 407 light-years away. You can see a little bit of red. It represents the many dust particles in space. Can be seen dusty cocoons. We can say that the top of the right cocoon, like clouds, like a bunch of like a cocoon. Then slowly formed, slowly gathering, and finally into the planet. So before we do not know what impact is how planets are formed, this figure saw very clearly, from small to large accumulation up. This is our nearest star. Part. But recently also outside 407 light-years, from the outside this planet. We can continue to look back. Then this one too. We look at this very interesting. This one is the Crab Nebula is M1. The French astronomer. The Messier. M is named after his name. The planet's plan. He said it was a comet. In fact, that is the technology developed. Now I know. This is a Crab Nebula. And I was a supernova brackets. SN 1054 wreckage. The so-called supernova is a stellar, when it lasts. It's no way to gather energy when it crash. Because relatively small inside pressure. Large outside pressure throughout crush. After it erupted crushed. Burst out. This formed the Crab Nebula. The Crab Nebula is the Chinese people discovered. This inside, look at this picture. I have to show you this picture. This picture, there are 3 different space telescope synthesis of results. The first we can see Chandra. X-ray telescope. X-ray telescope in front. The middle of the blue skeleton. The nebula is representative of the residual. Important star formation primary core member. This is the most important element of A. It could see the inside from the framework. This is Chandra's X-ray telescope to see. The second is the Hubble Space Telescope. Visible yellow. You can see it because jet wreckage. Loosed. Like blood vessels to the scattered everywhere. This is a Hubble telescope. Visible to look out for, then the other cannot see the red of the original. Spray it on behalf of a lot of dust particles. The dust through the Spitzer telescope. See very clearly. So this we call the Crab Nebula. See the M1. The nebula through 3 different. The camera features. Can restore the entire universe. Crab inside internal configuration. We can know that. Skeleton is definitely there, right, while inside the wreckage because it will. Haber then saw the visible light. Then again is red. See original. It also represents a lot of that comes out of very small particles. This small dust particles. The main reason is the formation of the Crab Nebula. The Crab Nebula. In fact, we Chinese people have long seen, on July 4th, 1054 Song Dynasty. Song to the first year and have already seen. Here are a few words. To May and the first year of each O. Days off a few inches May southeast. Then did a little Suayu. A year later gone out. So here I have the scarlet letter, at that time the supernova. During the day you can see the time. Can be up to 23 days, and the evening can be up to 1 year and 10 months. Chinese people see that, but now this Crab Nebula. Using high-tech place for everyone to see. Actually like this. This is a feature of Spitzer. Also what I just talked about. It TRAPPIST. 201839.6. You can see 7 Earth-like. In the habitable zone planet. We have only 1 planet which has 7. But the middle is a red dwarf star. Its energy than the sun with us. A little not the same. But it can nourish the 7 planets. But now our technology is not to. Because it is impossible to 39.6 light-years. Well then this is a so-called. The Spitzer saw Magellanic Cloud. We can first see Magellanic Cloud, but do not know what the so-called Magellan. There are 2 Magellanic Cloud, a large Magellanic Cloud, a small Magellanic Cloud. Because our galaxy. When their rotation. These 2 would turn around in our banking system. One is the large Magellanic Cloud, one is the small Magellanic Cloud. We like the moon around the Earth as. This is tantamount to 2. We turn around in the Milky Way, but do not know the exact situation. Now through the Spitzer telescope, we can see that. You can also see the inside. It's the place to see it red dust. It then blue red. You can see its edge. This represents a very, very large nebula. Even bigger than we expected. Its concentration and its higher degree of dust. From its red color. You see, on the edge, the middle of the red to be a lot more than a lot. It indicates that this nebula than we have seen. It's also a wide range of bigger. This is another case. Well, we now look at this. This is called the Tarantula Nebula. This nebula, you can see it in the dust. It's red dust. You see spread to the middle of the north. There is also a red top point north. This means that if you are using Hubble visible light, you cannot see. It was this dust scattered so far. But you can see through this. There are right-hand side, we see the right-hand side. It is the right-hand side you can see the nebula. Has come to my hand. My body's most collage on. Collage on the far left. So on behalf of the nebula. So called the Tarantula Nebula. So this is in the past cannot see. After Spitzer telescope can see. It Schonch's breadth. It presented colors. Know it. Dust density and thickness. Far more than we originally thought of visible light. Well, we can see Phongyun Nebula. This is the spiral nebula M51. The Helix Nebula from us. 2300. This is also Spitzer. After this, the Kitt Peak. Kitt Peak National Observatory to see. And the Spitzer telescope to see let go. You can see it in red. Spitzer telescope is seen. Red dots represent its dust, so look to see less visible. Only know that there is something here, but something inside of this structure. Spitzer telescope to look through the full. See more clearly and more detailed, which indicated that it was not plenty. And there is a solid which was. And even more real than we thought. The same is true. It is also seen through different light. You see inside. If you do not see the red, you are just bustling blue. But in fact, it contains many good things in it. This is after Spitzer telescope. We can see that. In our solar system around a few important. With the size of the sun-like star. You can see 2 light. Heliocentric. The 2 light years. 2 light years. We refer to LY, 2 LY, 4 LY. There are 2 and 4 of the top right LY. Because 1 is Centaur. Alpha Centauri Centaurus. 1 is next to the red Proxima Centauri. Then it out 6 light years. Right-hand side wise. 2013. And have left several stars. So 1234. Equal to 4 very important from Earth. Our solar system from the Sun. Within 6 light years. But they are still similar to the Sun. 4 key stars. It's called stars, not a planet. This is also seen in the Spitzer. Then I finally came alive again when the movie Dear Boo. It has 4 scientific purposes. The first, red. It can look for extrasolar planets of. The second, explore how planets form. With a small planet with dust disks, etc. A third, study of extrasolar strange galaxy. Galaxies outside the Milky Way galaxy is. You can see a lot of things. The fourth, do it through distant galaxies. You can see the graphics of the early universe. So Phongyun Important Space Telescope. Spitzer. On January 30th has ended. It functions from 2.5 years, extend to almost 16 years. I now put another film. This film is also Spitzer telescope. It is the Orion Nebula but is 3D. You can see inside the structure from the outside. It is through a special treatment. Well, we're zooming in. Can see this, a constellation of Orion Nebula. We can see the red dot from Spitzer. That representatives, its thickness is very thick dust. If you cannot see with visible light, you can see it in the photo with a 3D movie. You see red. This red dust are ready to be the future star formation. Galaxy is an important material. You see it on both sides of the red. It represents the penetration of particles. Have seen the resolution of the fine particles. Very clear. And then look at it from afar, magenta. It is representative of a concentration of denser thicker, and it's slowly close to the center. This is Orion. Orion Nebula 360-degree videos. Through Spitzer telescope. Various angles of shooting. And get this synthetic film. Then you can see. You see it's stardust, spread out like clouds, not actually clouds. The inside layer is star. The inside is star formation. Important information. You see it the purple, its concentration of light penetrating because of its relatively long wavelength. It can penetrate the visible light. See a lot of different things visible. The light through the inside while go through. Other conditions are displayed. Well, this is what we see. Another Spitzer contribution. Finished this. We are now following a change to the so-called Trump in February 2024. He mentioned in the State of the Union Space Force. Moon with Mars project. Then the inside it. First of all, I am here this picture yet. It is called Artemis Project. 2024. I have here two photos. One is left 1961. Kennedy said, "We are going to the moon. We're going to the moon." Johnson is the top left to pick him up later president. Then the right is Donald Trump. Trump was number 4 February 2020. So from 1961 to 2020. The gap between the two for everyone to see. Trump then say, 2024. Return to the moon. I used this inside A. But I do not look at this English bilingual. He said I was a Trump word spoken. He said that we, as a reiterated, traditional free country, we have to remember, America has always been a frontier country. Frontier is ahead of the advanced countries. Now we must embrace the next advance in the field. What is it in this area? American evident in the fate of the sky. That is my task. It translated this fate. We want Congress. He wants Congress to fully fund Artemis project. That is, if he is in due 4 years of the president's words, the project will be executed. This is to ensure the implementation of content. The next American man. And the first American woman. Meanwhile, the moon. So he is also the first man and woman at the same time on the moon, as a launch pad, as a center. And what would like to enter Mars? This is the explanation he was. Then my side, I put the U.S. presidents. For his career with the space policy. Make it elaborate. The first we can see Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961. First, he this 1959. NASA established, because this 57-year Sputnik 1 launch. So he set up NASA. But the second task. He missiles with scientific satellite program. Go hand in hand. At the same time, the implementation of the International Geophysical Year a year. The United States has a well-known magazine called National Geographic, 1957 to 1958. Talk all year round. How to use sounding rockets. Look at the Earth's atmosphere. This is Eisenhower's great contribution. The use of unmanned scientific mission to do detection. The second that you just talked about, Kennedy. He said that we are prepared on the moon. 1961. Just that picture, May 25th. U.S. Congress speech in Congress. The third is Jensen, 1963 to 1969. He raised a very important. He asked the United States, because at that time the Soviet Union was strong, so he proposed ban nuclear weapons into space. So this is now. All weapon system does not go into space. This command is, including the United States now have to comply with their own, because he was in 1967. OST has been established Outer Space Treaty. All is peaceful uses of outer space. This is a set of Jensen, then Nixon 1969 to 1974. He is a space reaper. Because this time, United States landed on the moon from here to begin, but they are the predecessors Kennedy's policy. Approved the 1981 Space Shuttle program. This is the Nixon ordered, while signed in 1972. Soviet 5-year cooperation plan, American astronauts with the Soviet Union, here also space rendezvous handshake. Ford because of economic constraints. So he just support. He signed a Carter. Military space policy. 1978. Demand proposed anti-satellite. So now not only do anti-satellite. Carter is past time. Already booked out. Needless to say that Reagan, but he has two very important strategy. 1984. Commercial Space Transportation Office. Found it still functioning until now, the second of it. In 1983 he set up the SDI. Strategic defense plan. Space laser advocate and network integration over there. That this period of integration, because the failure of the 1989 Challenger. So all collapse. So this will be no later, now may have been executed. That Bush from 1989 to 1993. Support space exploration. He also built the space station. Then Clinton. That Clinton's time for it. Basically, he made a so-called description space policy. Then he said that to be human with the machine. Meanwhile, detection space program. The start has established. Then we look at what other. Then followed by the George W. Bush, 2001-2009. He started a constellation, Orion plans. He was ready to return to the moon by 2020. This is very important, in this year when Orion started. In fact, NASA has been studying U.S. how to re-land on the moon. But when Obama, 2009-2017, Bush announced the end of a small moon plan. He said that in 2030 to Mars. But he adds asteroid probe. This is Obama's plan to do. Okay, all of which add up. We can see that. Trump has spoken. 2024. So he put former presidents of all space policy wheat from the chaff. The whole to be concentrated. The implementation of the Artemis project. We take a look. The Artemis project has 6 major selling points. First, we look from the left. It is first ground control station with the launch system. The second we call Space Launch System. Second, Space Launch System. Third, Orion spacecraft. This is a continuation in the past, when Bush Orion spacecraft program. This is the fourth new relay station. He want to make a small space station. Because we know the space station Freedom has a lot of experience in the sky, so he want to make a small space station up. The fifth lunar landing ship. The sixth is Al Artemis spacesuit. This sixth characteristic selling point is its characteristics. We can see from this picture. This is the 2020 to 2024 left. During this preparation time. From now start preparing. Its landing site at the south pole of the moon. Start up the first robot. Then the landing pit. This is the bottom left. Then it uses the commercial load the moon. It contained a lot of things to go up. A small amount called CLPS. Then the middle that was carried up a lot. Finally, in the 21st century, human landing on the moon back again. And then above the top end of the line. That Al Artemis 1. This is the beginning of the spacecraft to the moon. Al Artemis 2. 21. It is to fly around the moon. Al Artemis supply mission. With the task of 12. Start with a high-energy solar power system. It was noted. I just said power system, and the Hubble time is 5,500 watts. By this Spitzer only 400 watts. Actually do a lot of things, so now represent the United States in science and technology, have been able to use high-energy solar power system to boot into the moon. An Al Artemis supply mission. The pressurized module to the first relay station. This is a new space station. Then Al Artemis supply mission. The human systems to the relay station moon. Finally, the astronaut team. And then from the relay station to the surface of the moon. This section is a series of Al content Artemis project good. Well, we can see from the video inside 19681972 that there are 9 moon. Our moon in 9. It then 9 times the moon. There are 6 successful moon. The so-called touchdown. This photo is from Apollo 89101112 etc. Then this really the moon. Starting from Apollo 11 to Apollo 17. Of course, in addition to the failure of Apollo 13. Why should I do this picture? Saturn V. All with the Saturn V rocket. At that time before the establishment of the ALMI Manchester. This is the largest rocket. We continue to see a good movie now. Then followed the 9 touchdown successful landing on the moon 6 times. There are 12 astronauts to the surface of the moon landing. This is the astronauts do experiments. Now this is now a high-tech. It aims toward Mars. Well, this photo is the distance of Earth to the middle of Mars. This photo tell you Earth to Mars and the moon. To the moon 3 days. 24. then goes in front. Earth to Mars to 6 months. How these 3 days of mileage with 6 months of mileage do combine. First to reach the moon. The moon is a training ground. Many training no atmosphere. With gravity is relatively small. After a good familiar. Then these people to Mars. We continue to see a good movie. This is the moon of Mars. Then the red dot on behalf of its mission. Well, this Artemis. How we are going to the moon. This means that how we go to the moon. Note that this flag inside. Blue is our planet. Top right of the moon. Or you say Mars. If the moon, it is into this coil red. Then you can say that Mars. When Mars, this becomes blue moon. Through this red line from the moon. To reach the moon. Then this red line represents the mean. First notice the red line. It represents the power of a strong rocket. It has a second relay station. The third very important. It emphasized what it called a data link. Network they're all. Are very strong network. The so-called network chain. Inside a so-called chain passage. Let astronauts sitting inside a space capsule. Just like took a cell phone. At any time to keep in touch. We continue to see a good movie. This is its spacesuit. It's a spacesuit the first 4 men. There sit 4 astronauts. The 4 astronauts. Basically called the members of the cabin. This member is that it. Is the former Orion spacecraft. Brought again to strengthen what came alive again. Here is the service module. This is mainly with the past, almost all. The first big change is only made more refined. And there are all the internet. And its circuitry are modern. This is the service module, so the above is the passenger compartment. Here is the service module. Then again we continue to see the movie. This is Orion. 3 characteristics of the so-called space capsule. The third most important of this section had no. It is called the escape system. That is, once you get the rocket launch. Out any problems. Through this you can launch escape system. There are white above the 3 small rockets. With this system you can put astronauts. The capsule arrested. Then sprayed on and then back to the Earth. Let these astronauts. Also from harm. This is it very important to this so-called Orion galaxy of deep space spaceship. One important feature of Artemis. We continue to look good. This is a good launch system. The entire escape system. Then you can see the whole setup. Slowly it's stressed. This is the interface of people with substance. Then followed slowly pull up. Then the following transmission system is cargo goods you want to bring something into it. Cargo system. Then the so-called middle inside the main rocket. Then the next 2. Solid rocket boosters fixed rocket. Then this system then with the then Saturn. Basically a lot of big. You see there is greater than the middle of it. There are 4 rocket other than SR-25. Next to 2. Solid rocket boosters large. This is used to strengthen the shuttle. The 6 meter. 600 payload. No advance now. Rockets began to slowly rise. It has 2 boost astronauts sitting. 4 astronauts sat on it and then start. Note that it is timed to 2 minutes and 4 seconds 3 seconds to 0. 2 boost out of line in 2 minutes time. 8 minutes and then disconnect the third 2 seconds. Finally, the whole of its payload. In parking orbit. Stationed in orbit around the Earth over their turn. Do the so-called rest. While preparing to journey into the moon. Then you can see the remaining spacecraft. There are 6 million pounds inside. 520. It noted that no information chain saw. It is time to go in at any time. It is all the information chain follow it. This time it starts to upstage. It only left the last solar panels. The capsule itself is saying, and its cargo section. Then into the orbit of the moon. Slowly out of the Earth. Fuel burn slowly. This is the last Apollo program when. It into the condition of the moon. Notice you see. It is a big rocket. With a so-called boat landing on the moon. In preparation for landing on the moon. Very heavy right. But now it is not the same. Now Artemis. It has been particularly made improvements this allows you to more refined boat landing on the moon. And more cargo strap. This is not the past. Well, we see Apollo. This is a good Artemis. It noted that the blue dot. Landing sites on the moon's south pole, because the moon's south pole water, it can take advantage of this resource. You see rovers. There have been many small spacecraft, ready over there before landing. Do human testing about the system. All in that place. The red dot is a test. Blue represents the scientific experiments in space. Rover is launching the vehicle. It's a small unmanned spacecraft, and this place the probe must first do. Noticed a few other blue dot above. Representative said that now some point of scientific experiments. That is, from Apollo 11 all the way to number 17. 126. These features called the science experience. Featured here, all included in the network chain. Moon below what? What changes in the surrounding environment is, how many meteorite hit the top? All data. Finally, you have to log in Antarctica. It is so-called Antarctic rover. There are several unmanned spacecraft. Here first positioning probe. Because why? Because you have to do a so-called here. Important springboard into Mars so. And there is water. It is this place you can do the test. We continue to look down good. This is its relay spacecraft. This is new. Relay spacecraft in here. In that place, etc. Then I wait for you to but. You see there are 3 very important information chain. Through this message. After the relay spacecraft. With your entire space station to do contact. At the same time you get away. This is called get away. It entered an elliptical orbit around the moonwalk. Artemis did not see around the moonwalk. Artemis its network link is down. But only this one Apollo. No other all. So its network chain. Cover the entire moon is whole all. Look. It directly onto the relay spacecraft. Internet chain to follow right. With us in space. The left is the spacecraft integration. After it Jishanku. No spacecraft attached together with relay. Continue to go around the moon. This is characteristic. It should also not yet play up. Is to prepare complete change in 2024. 2024. This can be combined with the so-called moon boat. Through solar panels. The entire energy delivery network chain. Just see there are 3 different network chain. All together. Become a very important system. Well, we continue to look down. Well, this is its network chain form. See elliptical orbit. Well, over there around the trunk number. Then left red. Representatives of both sides to come spacecraft docking. Astros came from the inside. Gray is the middle of the space capsule. Then start from. After detachment from this. Now this issue to begin around the moon. Slowly around. Around the wound and then land on the moon. This is the cargo of heavy cargo. And so-called space vehicles are in it. Then when it came back immediately, around the moon is slowly coming back around. And then immediately with the relay station. Space station standards, small space station. This astronaut more comfortable. Well, now astronauts back. Return to see the information chain. Tell you what kind of temperature. What kind of temperatures? Good parking orbit around the moon. Then proceeds to elliptical orbit. Then come back to the elliptical orbit of Earth. Notice when it reversed back to Earth. The capsule is starting to Earth. Then a lot of atmosphere. Start acting on the high-speed space capsule. This time the temperature of nearly 5,000 degrees. It is at 25,000 miles per second speed. Began to enter. Then after parachute finish umbrella. Down to 300 miles. Then 20 miles per hour. Then back on Earth. This section is its entire launch process. This inside look all over again. You see the space station spaceship, and our rocket. All a far cry from the past with the present. Then the 1969 movie. Basically, it was later returned to the moon for a lot of features. And you see the spacesuits are completely different. So says represents the entire moon system. Basically already done a lot to improve. Us from this screen, we take another look at this closer. The inside. This screen is substantially the lunar South Pole. We look at the lunar South Pole images. Just see the photos. We can see in the above. In the above I stress again. The 21st century does not see the moon. Al Artemis first paragraph 1. To complete the spaceship, then this is 2020. Then it was to the second paragraph. 21. Note. Al Artemis 2 this has not yet started. After that, the execution is over. It also fits so-called SEP. Is called Solar Equipment Propulsion System. Solar power is the propulsion system. This time, the ability of this is new. In this time trial inside, after the success of then again the others to the relay station. That is, we just see, it's about the features. In this relay station which we can see, it made a lot of new moves. This is not previously. Here are some of the actions of all. Russia's spacecraft are in the past. To teach the United States. How about, say there are several docking hatches. All of these experiences, the space station freedom are performed. Well then finally I want to talk about. Finally, several U.S. presidents. The first is Bill Clinton. His 1993 to 2001. The inside it. In 1969 he announced a new space policy. He stressed, mankind through the human with the machine. Explore increase. Understanding of Earth's solar system with the universe. Meanwhile behind emphasize, strengthen and maintain U.S. national security. So the emphasis on the inside. Some U.S. military security features, which has been in Clinton's words, has been used in it, so is not the first time Trump. He has been placed on the inside. Clearly speak out. Then Bush. 2001-2009. It produces the inside of a 2003. Columbia astronauts crash. Astronaut crash. In particular, he stressed that there. 2004. He wants to set a new vision of space exploration. To return to the moon by 2020. While helping mankind in the future to reach Mars. When they ordered a 2010. To complete the establishment of the space station. Meanwhile shuttle to retire. It is that Bush, when speaking. Then the following are important. It is this so-called Orion spacecraft. Is in his term to do. But then I would talk back. Obama canceled by the. At that time enabled the Orion spacecraft. It is a lunar lander Altiers. The inside have been taken into account, so he hopes to be executed in 2010. Then return to the moon by 2020. 2020. But President Obama when they came up. The Constellation program canceled. Constellation plans to cancel. Obama said what? He is the 2009 and 2017 presidential. He said that in 2010 April 15th. He said he released the Kennedy Space Center. He immediately stopped the policy at that time Bush. Mars policy. But in fact it is this. Orion spacecraft still to do, but he told. He promised to provide $6 billion in additional funding, calls for the development of a new heavy-class rocket. This heavy-class rocket I guess. Trump is now possible to speak Artemis, the rocket inside heavy rocket. He's ready to land on Mars in 2030. It is indicated says, Trump basically his space policy is a continuation of the president to any of several, Clinton, Bush and Obama. Then all integrated. After it incorporates the implementation of the so-called our Artemis project. Is the Moon South Pole landing plan, note from 2020. 2020-2024. 2024. In this training inside. Nearly to 2030. Enough is enough training time to shorten it. It will directly into Mars. So this is Trump's entire space program. Thank you for watching today. I hope you like. Today, 2 important elements. Next meeting. Thanks, bye.